Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
It's for adjourned and we didn't get to speak. How many people here are opposed to the Project Turtle? Say aye! Aye! I hope you heard that.
So it's the Martha Zoller Show. So yesterday, the data center for Hall County was tabled, which did not surprise me. And I remember I said yesterday that, I don't understand a lot about these data centers. I have done a number of interviews on them. It's kind of like this property tax situation. I can't get my head around it. I got an email from someone saying how disappointed they were in me. That, shame on me for not taking up this issue that's so important and not knowing about it and not discussing it on yesterday. So, look, George sent this in. He said, I'm so disappointed that you're not prepared to discuss the data center in depth. This is a day that the commissioners are voting on it, and if we lose the vote, we are done for. I know you said you support it, but I think you pride yourself in educating the voters on both sides of an issue. You are late and helping us with this understanding. Now, I didn't say I supported it. I said I am pro-growth. And I'm willing to be open to it. I don't really have a dog in this fight, okay? But what I did say that I think data centers are not the evil that's out there. And what I don't understand, okay, in the case of Hall County, it was presented to the commissioners that this could eliminate the property tax that Hall County charges. And of course, they were advised by the staff at Hall County not to be so quick with that. And I think that's good advice. I mean, just because you get some new project that's gonna produce enough revenue to reduce the property taxes, until you know the project's gonna work, till you know that you're gonna get the revenue in, till you know that it can replace the current property taxes, you shouldn't go changing your tax policy. There's a time lag there, okay? So I think that was good advice. But on Columbia County, there's a similar situation where there's a data center coming up for a vote, and they are going to have, they say that they can replace the property taxes of the county. I always want to be clear about that, because your property taxes for counties, for most counties, not all counties, are about 25% of your total property tax bill. The rest is school tax. So, I think it's a bigger issue, and I want to be sure I understand all sides of it, and I don't want to talk to you about it if I don't understand all sides, but I will certainly take your position on that. I got a very good explanation from someone who was involved in this issue with a letter that was written, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this letter, not who it was from, because they haven't given me permission to use their name, but it said, thank you for exploring this important opportunity for Hall County voters. This project should be transformational for Hall County as the poultry industry once was, and it deserves proper due diligence so everyone can clearly understand the direction your leadership is guiding us. I am writing because I may not be able to join the public discussion at the meeting, and I want to share these thoughts. I respectfully request that the commission table the vote on the proposed data center and commission a comprehensive study before proceeding. The project scale and resource demands require a full understanding of how it would affect Hall County's utilities. You have to look into electricity, small modular reactors, water, employment, potential revenue opportunities. Will there be tax exemptions? How could the revenue generate? Any of those kinds of things. And of course, he copied me on this letter, and he sent it to the commission, and they did end up tabling it. Okay, so I think that's the right thing to do. Just like at the beginning of the discussion on the inland port, several times things had to be tabled before it moved forward. I will say though, because the George said, "Oh, you said you're for it." I am pro growth. I will admit that. Okay, it's funny. My husband and I are like a house divided because I'm pro-growth and he doesn't want to see another thing come to Hall County. Okay, so, but we still can get along, right? We have different points of view on this, but we still can get along. So that's where we are on it. If you went to the meeting last night, I'd love to hear from you. If you have opinions about this, or if you know someone that you think is the be-all, end-all on this issue, send me their name and number, and we'll have them on the program. This is going to sound like that this doesn't go together, this next topic, but it does. San Francisco was going to be the next place that President Trump sent National Guard to. Guess what San Francisco did? And I'm saying this in the nicest way. They started working on their problems. They had the mayor of San Francisco, who is a Democrat, contact the White House and talk to the president and said, you know, Mr. President, here's what we're doing. We would love to have your help at some point in time, but here's what we're doing. And the president of the United States came out yesterday and said, you know what? They're trying to work on their own problems, so I'm suspending, I am postponing. I forget the word he used exactly, but it doesn't mean he's not going to go there, but he's going to let them try to solve their own problems. This is how you should do these things, folks. This idea that you're going to put together a group that is going to just oppose President Trump instead of figuring out a way to work together is just not something that works. J.B. Pritzker was on Special Report yesterday, and, he got asked some pretty tough questions by Bret Baier. And one of the things they talked about was the crime rate and why wouldn't you want to work with the feds? And he said something I've said from the beginning. I bet Chicago's been working with the feds on a number of issues. All J.B. Pritzker and the mayor of Chicago would have to do is call up their counterparts in the White House. I bet J.B. Pritzker could get through to President Trump and say, hey, we would like to work with you on this, but here's how we'd like to do it. All President Trump wants is to see movement on these issues and also to be treated with a little bit of respect. And I think that he deserves that. He is the president of the United States. Doesn't matter whether you agree with him on everything or not. He is the duly elected president of the United States. I said this about Joe Biden. I said it about the first President Trump. I said it about President Obama. He is the duly elected president of the United States. He should be shown respect whether you agree with him or not. So I got another email from my friend Jim Scott. And here's what, he sent me, which I think is kind of interesting. I want to make sure I get it on there. First of all, it's clear that Jim is on fundraising lists for the Democrats because everything he sends me is a fundraising letter. So what he sent me was this fundraising letter for this group of Democratic governors who are fighting back and serving as the last line of defense against his cruel, dangerous, and chaotic agenda. James, your voice matters. Will you join your neighbors in 30529 and sign our letter to show Trump where you stand? We need 63 more Democrats before midnight to send a powerful message. Now, first of all, why, if they really care about America, why are they only asking for Democrats? Shouldn't they care about Americans? Shouldn't they be more like John Fetterman, where he says he's doing what's best for America? Also, Jim, this is a fundraising letter. You ought to just dismiss this and throw it away, whether it comes from a Republican or a Democrat. Fundraising letters are a bunch of malarkey, to use a Joe Biden term. All they are is to try to get you emotional so that you will give them some money, and then you have given up your control. I don't think Democratic governors should be organizing to stand up against Donald Trump. What governors of this country should be doing, Democrat and Republican, they ought to be calling the White House and saying, gee, how can the federal government help us with fentanyl poisoning? How can the federal government help us with technical training? How can the federal government help us with any number of issues? So here's what I'm saying to you, Jim. You wanted me to comment on this today? I'm just going to tell you the truth. You're being taken advantage of with this fundraising letter. Okay, because this is not what we want in America. This is going to divide us further instead of bringing us together. And I hope you paid attention and didn't just turn off and say, when I said you should disregard any of these. I don't read the Republican ones and I don't read the Democrat ones. If I do my own research on candidates, and if I want to give money, I do. And if I want to criticize, I do. But I do it based on my own research. Because unfortunately, the people that put these letters together are just people that are being paid by these governors in this case, but it could be a candidate. They don't care about the candidate. And let me tell you something here. They don't care about you. They only care about raising money and getting their cut of the money that's been raised. I guarantee you, and I'm looking here on the bottom to see who paid for this. Paid for by Democratic Action. Okay? Somebody at Democratic Action is getting 20% of all the money you gave. And all they care about is getting their cut of the pie. And look, I've said many times before, I have benefited from Citizens United. Citizens United gave me money in my campaign, and Dave Bossie gave me money in my campaign. But I don't agree with the Citizens United decision. I don't think it's the end of the world as we know it, the way a lot of Democrats look at it. But here's my view on money in politics. Money in politics should not be called Democratic Action. Okay? Money in politics should be Logan Landers gave $50. Martha Zoller gave $250. Jim Scott gave $100. I don't know what you give, but your name as an individual should be next to the amount of money that you gave, and then it is free speech. But when you have these groups that have these nice names, but you don't know how they spend their money, because I guarantee you this is a super PAC. They hate Citizens United, but they do the super PACs. So be honest with your money. Be honest. Look, you may not like John Fetterman, but he puts his name with what he does. You may disagree with what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing right now or at any time, but she puts her name with what she does. These leadership PACs, these super PACs, and I can say this from experience. I did work for a super PAC in 2020. It was the most lucrative job I ever had in my life, okay? But it was the sleaziest job that I ever had to do. I didn't do anything illegal or unethical. I was just begging for money all day long, and I just didn't feel comfortable about it. I'm glad I did it, not only because I made a really good salary for 6 months' work, but because I learned from the inside. This is what I like to do. I don't like to be from the outside and throw stones at the windows. I like to look at things from the inside when I get the opportunity to do so and make up my own mind. We'll be back.
It's the news that affects you and the talk that keeps you listening.
We'll continue on with additional discussions today as we stay engaged.
North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Does your office technology slow your team down? Nothing is more frustrating than printers that jam, copiers that won't connect, and service providers that don't follow through. You and your team deserve technology that works. I'm Matt Nick, president of Duplicating Products, and for over 50 years, we've helped North Georgia offices eliminate bottlenecks, reduce downtime, and get reliable support for office technology. Our promise, we do what we say we will do. If you're tired of office equipment headaches, it's time for a change. Visit us today at duplicatingproducts.com.
Hey, Daddy, what's in a crawl space?
That's a good question, Annie. I'm Cody Lovin with Crawl Space Medic. Musty smells, dampness, and sagging insulation means your crawl space or basement might need some attention. Our team quickly finds and fixes moisture problems, updates moisture barriers, and resolves structural issues, ensuring your home stays dry and comfortable. Don't let your crawl space problems affect your comfort, air quality, or property value. Visit crawlspacemedic.com.
A healthy home starts from the ground up.
You wouldn't want someone you couldn't trust working on your family's HVAC and plumbing, so why would you call anyone but Gainesville Mechanical? They're your local, most trusted and award-winning HVAC and plumbing company in North Georgia. From maintenance appointments and clogged drains to plumbing emergencies and new system installations, their team is ready to serve you. And with their customer assurance maintenance plan, you can receive discounts, priority scheduling, and 24/7 no overtime rates. Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes since 1989.
Let's get you're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things. Like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, City of Cleveland's public works crews are combating not one but two water main breaks from Thursday night. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Sounds like they're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That report was from 2010 on the Obama administration. Okay, so everybody's up in arms. I'm actually going to be doing a CNN digital hit today, and they want to know what my listeners think about the White House renovations. I said, well, we really haven't talked about it this week. We've been talking about data centers and the government shutdown, and I suspect if my listeners, I said I'll throw it out tomorrow and see what they think, but I suspect they're not that worried about it. Now, let me give you a little history on the White House, okay? Most notably, Jackie Kennedy, under the Kennedy administration, won an Emmy for the documentary she did about all the renovations she did to the White House back in 1961 to 63, okay? So you've got this, this situation where you act like there's never been any changes to the White House. And that's just not true. You can hear back in 2010, they started like a 3 or 4 year renovation project that cost $375 million that the taxpayers paid for, by the way, not this one that's being paid for privately. So let me just give you a little rundown of the history of the White House. So they have had 4 major renovations, okay? 1902, the Roosevelt renovation created the West Wing. They didn't have it before then, but it created the West Wing. 1952, Truman's renovation completely gutted and rebuilt the interior. And in 1948 to 1952, reconstruction that was reinforced the structure with steel and concrete. Now, interestingly enough, by 1960, it was in such terrible shape that most of the rooms were unlivable. And Jackie Kennedy had to come in and redo the whole thing. And then she did a documentary of a tour through the White House and the work that they did. And she won an Emmy for that. Chelsea Clinton's out there now like crying about how she spent 8 years in the White House and how could they do this? It's been done a number of times. So here's the full list. 1914, the White House had to be rebuilt because it was burned down by the British. Okay? 1902, Theodore Roosevelt's major renovation, modernizing the building and established the West Wing, was done in 1902. 1909, William Howard Taft expanded the West Wing and built the first Oval Office. What's funny about that is William Howard Taft was like the fattest president we ever had, and he literally got stuck in a bathtub because he was so big. And the terminology of expanding the West Wing and built the first Oval Office. So that was William Howard Taft. In 48 to 52, the most significant overhaul, this reconstruction was overseen by Harry Truman. It involved the complete gutting of the interior. The structural integrity was reinforced with steel and concrete, with modern systems for plumbing and electricity were installed. It's much like what they're doing to Buckingham Palace right now. In 1942, Franklin Delano Roosevelt had the East Wing constructed. So the first Roosevelt did the West Wing, Franklin Roosevelt did the East Wing. John Kennedy did a full renovation again, adding air conditioning and things like that in 1961. Since the 1952 Reconstruction, there have been frequent but less expensive changes, such as the installation of a one-lane bowling alley by President Nixon and the creation of the kitchen garden by Michelle Obama. There was also a $375 million reconstruction project that started in 2010, and the press should know this. The swimming pool was covered up, and the Brady press room was created out of that. So they got rid of the swimming pool, they redid that whole building, and they turned it into the press side. So, folks, there have been plenty of renovations of the White House. Okay? You've got to understand that this is not something that just Donald Trump is doing. The difference is he's paying for this with private money as opposed to taxpayer money. So look, I just want to know, if you oppose this, why? Why? And you know what? I've put that Jackie Kennedy line on several of the Democrats that are just up in arms about the fact that the White House is being renovated. And I've not gotten one response back from any of them. Because how do you argue with that? Jackie Kennedy, the Democrat First Lady, did a documentary and won an Emmy for it because of all the great work she did at the White House. Folks, you got to know the facts. You can't just know the last 5 years of history if you're going to comment. We'll be back.
At Onward Reserve, their motto is live authentically. Every shirt, every store, every story is inspired by real moments. On the golf course, in the field, out on the lake, or gathering with friends after a long day. Discover clothing, footwear, accessories, and game day attire, all designed for making memories with the people and places you love. Visit Onward Reserve on the Gainesville Square next to WDUN. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 till 7, Sundays 12 till 5. Onward Reserve. Live authentically.
Innovation at Jackson EMC.
To me, innovation is taking technology and doing something new with it.
I'm working with a global company. We're helping them be able to reduce their carbon footprint through some of our programs.
Here at Jackson EMC, we embrace innovation, such as solar power, electric vehicle programs, energy-efficient right choice homes. Jackson EMC, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow.
I'm willing to wager that when you cook, you don't skimp on quality. At Loretta's Country Kitchen, we don't either. This is Grant Nichols at Loretta's, where we use only the best ingredients, including Springer Mountain chicken tenders, canned sauces, Hormel bacon, and Jimmy Dean sausage. It's also why we make our biscuits from scratch every day. We don't compromise on quality, and neither should you. Enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinner with us, and bring your friends. Loretta's Country Kitchen, Monday Mill Road, Oakwood, where it's all good.
This week on Friday Game Night, on AM 550, Cherokee Bluff hosts Jefferson. On FM 102.9, Chestatee hosts White County. And on 94.5 FM, Gainesville hosts Roswell. Week 11 coverage begins at 6 with the Prep Tailgate Show, presented by Conditioned Air Systems. On your home, a Friday Game Night. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
Fox News, I'm Therese Crowley. President Trump posting Canada cheated and got caught, cutting off all trade with Canada, charging they fraudulently say President Ronald Reagan didn't like tariffs in this ad from Ontario.
Tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries.
The Reagan Foundation says Canada did not have permission to edit Reagan's remarks. The president flies to Malaysia this evening for an Asian trade summit and his visit with China's President Xi. President Trump posting the stock market is stronger than ever before because of tariffs, and markets rising on the September CPI report. Inflation 3% year over year, one tick less than expected. New York Democrat Attorney General Tish James at the defendant's table in Norfolk, Virginia, against federal bank fraud charges on her Virginia mortgage, asking the judge to dismiss the case and stop prosecutors from talking about it. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. Hall County attorneys have sent a letter to Georgia's Attorney General's office in response to allegations that members of its planning commission violated the Georgia Open Meetings Act. The letter says that through interviews and review of surveillance footage, the officials determined that the meeting in September at Hall County Government Center did not violate Georgia Open Meetings Act. However, the letter did acknowledge county officials have found evidence that as many as 7 other such improper meetings have occurred. Within 5 minutes of the Hall County Board of Commissioners meeting starting on Thursday, multiple residents filed out of the Project Turbo Data Center issue after that was tabled.
So that we can get a site visit set up. We're trying to find one that is similar size, similar type facilities, similar type with the closed loop cooling system and all.
That was District 3 Commissioner Greg Poole, whose district the proposal is in, on just why he made the motion to table. The meeting was tabled until December 11th at the Hall County Government Center. And a Gainesville man who is already awaiting trial for child pornography charges now arrested on similar crimes. 29-year-old Cameron Dakota Dove arrested at his home in northwest part of the county on Thursday. Searched after investigators got a tip about his online activities. Dove is already awaiting trial from a previous investigation that ended in 2024 with him facing more than 60 child pornography charges. There's more news online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Mostly sunny skies. The highs later today in the low 70s. Will be partly cloudy skies for the evening and overnight hours. Lows dropping back into the mid 40s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Lawrenceville, 51 degrees. Cumming with 48, and in Gainesville, 50. From North Georgia's News Talk AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Hello, I'm Greg Beatles, president of your Atlanta Falcons and also proud supporter of Eagle Ranch. My family and the Falcons have been involved with the ranch for many years. Eagle Ranch has expanded its services to meet the increased needs in our community, to include outpatient counseling, a day school program, a residential program, and other therapeutic services that are both affordable and accessible. Learn more at eagleranch.org. That's eagleranch.org.
At M&R Rental and Equipment, we're not just about renting out top-notch tools and machinery. We're also your trusted partner for all your equipment maintenance needs. From small power tools to large heavy-duty machinery, our team of certified professionals are trained to keep them in peak condition. And with our affordable maintenance packages, you can focus on what you do best, creating, building, and achieving. Visit mnrrental.com for more information. M&R Rental and Equipment, building your projects, supporting your success.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Here we are in Washington, D.C., and it is shut down. But now here, it's both Pennsylvania's voice here in the U.S. Senate, even though we are in a different party. And we both want to talk about why we believe it's so important to reopen this government.
23 days, 12 votes. Senator Fetterman and I have both voted to open up the government. We agree on that 100%. It's really starting to hurt Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvanians, air traffic controllers, border patrol, and also 2 million recipients of SNAP. We've got to get the government open. That's our main responsibility. And I'd say that regardless of what party's in the majority.
So I think we both Our votes are about country over party at this point. And now we have 2 million Pennsylvanians that rely on SNAP. That's gonna stop. And now you can now stop, reopen this government and have an earnest conversation about extending those tax credits. We know we're gonna participate in this process. That's why we both vote to open up our government. We're in a different party. We're on the same team for Pennsylvania and our nation.
Pennsylvanians expect it. Pennsylvanians deserve it.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. We need to see more of that, okay? They've got a Democrat and a Republican senator, and they're working together, and they're putting Americans first. Ron Hart is here with me today, and it's so good to talk to you, Ron, because things are crazy out there right now. I got 3 topics I want to talk with you today about. I want to get your thoughts on the shutdown first.
I would say, oh, snap. I guess. I don't know. I mean, once you get in people's food, actually, I haven't missed the government personally, but you and I kind of live in a different world. We pay taxes and don't really use government services. So, my view of government services has always been unique, and I think people need to think about this. All the things you need, you get from the local government: police, fire, roads, schools, trash pickup. Fundamental things we all need are from your local, even food banks are, local. The federal government provides us what? Military, which is what all they really should be doing, right? The military, which we need to have military, et cetera. The rest, I don't even know if we even need what the rest of the federal government does. Local governments balance their budget. Basically, every year they have to by nature. The federal government runs $1 trillion deficit, giving us nothing. So I think the federal government needs to be starved to the point to which we can justify the things that they do.
So here's the thing, too. This is very different than the Obama shutdown that we had and even the last Trump shutdown, that Obama tried to hurt people with what he closed down immediately. Trump has moved tariff money to do WIC. So for the time being, at least till the end of the month, WIC is going to be fine. He's been moving money around to pay the soldiers. There is still tax money coming in every month. Okay, so the weird thing is the Democrats have actually given him the power that they didn't want him to have, because now he can control the money that's coming into the federal government and decide where it goes.
Right, and no, it's so commonsensical, right? Tariffs are paying for some of this stuff. I think it's got individuals willing to pay $130 million to the troops to keep them going. I saw a Facebook post regarding that. I mean, he's got friends who can fund this thing, and it's different than Obama. Obama, their shutdown was punitive. Their tone was, "Hey, we're the government. We're going to show you who's boss here. We're going to shut down open air parks. So these 3,000 acre parks, we're not going to allow you to walk in them. We're going to shut down the bathrooms, but for us, you can't go to the bathroom on your own." I mean, it was that tone and tenor that the government's theirs, not ours. And if you look deep, that's what they did.
Yes. So I think it's going to be interesting. And of course, I've been telling everybody all week they need to call Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock, tell them to vote to open the government. That you need to. There's 6 states where Trump won, and there's Democrats up for re-election next year. You need to call those states, and I'll give everybody that list of states later on in the program, as I've done every day, so be ready for that. And get your friends that live in those states to call, because if you call from Georgia to Arizona or Georgia to Pennsylvania or whatever, you're not going to, you know what I mean? You're not going to be able to change anything. So there's a lot of different things that are there. But the other part of this is just that Senator Ossoff even voted against paying federal workers while they're negotiating. And he's just not representing the American people, and he's not representing Georgia. He is caucus over constituents.
Yeah, and I who would have thought 10 years ago they would have 2 Democrat senators in Georgia? That was this confluence of weird things that happened that got them elected. And to remember, they're very hard they're ensconced. They're hard to get out of there. I mean, a sitting U.S. senator basically has so much money flowing in, so much gravitas, so much power at their fingertips that even a bad one can stay in for a long, long time. You let Menendez up in New Jersey, you name them. There's been some really bad senators that are hard to beat. because they got money, they got lobbyists, they got coffers, they got the media, they got the power of the government implicitly behind them. So both these guys will be really hard to beat. Who do you think the candidate will be to go after them?
Yeah. I don't know yet.
Side.
I don't know yet, but we'll see where that goes. I want to ask you, do you know anything about data centers? Have you followed that at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Because we just tabled one here in Hall County that could potentially replace the property taxes for the county, which is about 25% of your bill. They're looking at one in Columbia County, too, that says they can do the same thing. I'm trying to get somebody in here that's kind of an objective overseer of the information around data centers to see, because the people that are against them think they'll use too much power, too much water, and they don't really employ that many people for the amount of space they take up. And then the people that are for them, are for them for all the reasons that it brings more money in, it could reduce taxes, that kind of thing. Just your general thoughts on that.
They tend to go to smaller towns like yours because there is excess power in those small towns, right? It's not like Chattanooga or Atlanta or growing towns like Austin, Texas. They don't go near there because the power supply is taxed. They go near cheap power areas. Same thing with cryptocurrency mining. It takes a lot of energy to run these computers, and they need cheap. So the negotiations shouldn't be necessarily with the county. It should be with the power company.
Yeah.
Right? So how much power are you going to take and at what price are you going to take it? Some of them cut deals where they run the power mostly at night when people don't need power, or not, agree not to run the power during hot days in summer and cold days in winter to overtax the power system. Not many are going to Texas because Texas has a grid that's kind of expansive and hard to do. So they go to towns like yours. In my hometown, Columbia, Tennessee, they're looking there because they got TVA power here in Tennessee, and it's a great thing. And again, they need cheap land, big land, and there's certain things they need to get it done. Memphis kind of did an AOC and Amazon. Memphis, like a bunch of idiots, they had Elon Musk come in there with a big artificial intelligence system, and they tried to fight it, shake him down, or whatever they did over there. That's just idiotic to do that. All things equal, it can't hurt. What's the downside? It's a clean energy. It doesn't smoke stack, or doesn't, it's not like a prison in your town where escapees could hurt you. It's a pretty clean industry, so I would have no problem with it, but just keep an eye on them.
And then finally, of course, there's all the hoopla about the White House renovations. Okay, so just a little background. Jackie Kennedy won an Emmy for doing a documentary about all the work that they did in the Kennedy administration on the White House. There's, starting with it being burned down in 1812 and having to be rebuilt, to Theodore Roosevelt adding the West Wing, Franklin Roosevelt adding the East Wing, William Howard Taft adding the Oval Office. There were renovations in 48 and 52. I mean, this is just what happens. The difference with this one is, and Obama did $375 million worth of renovations. The difference is this one's not being paid for by the taxpayers. It's being paid for with private money. I don't understand why everybody's upset.
Yeah, the
by everybody, I mean Democrats. Okay.
Yeah, the epitome of hypocrisy. There's a piece where CNN shows Obama knocking down something to build his basketball court, or whatever. $375 million of taxpayers. They were glowing to see them. Oh, here, look at this.
I played that earlier. Oh
God. What a beautiful clip to show the difference between what happens between, the frivolous nature of a personal basketball court versus a ballroom where you have state dinners and everything heads of state. You're trying, you're ending wars all over the world and stuff. You're doing it in a tent. That doesn't look good. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it, obviously, and as long as there's no quid pro quo with these donors that come in there and give money. I doubt they're going to be the usual suspects like the government and stuff. So, the hypocrisy among the Democrats is just so large, and it doesn't. Even with the last election and all the media going under, they don't seem to get the message. It's just, to me, baffling.
Ron Hart, what you working on this week?
The No Kings rally. So the old white crowd there. The No Kings rally. In their defense, most of them were around when we had a king 240 years ago, so they should hear them out.
Absolutely. Ron Hart, thanks for being with me today.
Take care.
Thank you. And Jerry from Buford sent a text message in related to the White House renovation saying, hearing you loud and clear in Buford, Georgia, on the subject of the White House renovation, I believe all the other previous modifications, improvements were paid for by the taxpayers. I think the people hate this renovation because of TDS. Welcome to life in America in 2025. Have a great weekend. We'll take a break.
What you see is what you get. I call it like I see it. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. We have always believed that on this radio program.
It's Todd Starnes, weekdays at noon on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It's football time, which means Thursday and Sunday take their rightful place as the best days of the week. Well, those 2 days just got better because now through October 26th, Keno has 30% higher payouts during bonus hours. Say it with me. Higher Keno payouts on Thursdays and Sundays during bonus hours. Win $500, it becomes $650. That's like getting extra field goal points for scoring a touchdown. So play Keno online and anywhere Keno is sold and get 30% higher payouts during bonus hours. Thursdays 6 to 8 p.m. and Sundays 1 to 3 p.m. Keno bonus hours only through October 26th and only from the Georgia Lottery. Please play responsibly. Always check and sign your ticket.
Play the Georgia Lottery anytime, anywhere, on any device with Powerball, Mega Millions, Keno, and more. Win up to $400,000 instantly with over 50 fun DigiGames. Play now at PlayDigi.com. That's PlayDigi.com.
Tune in to WSB Channel 2 for your official Georgia Lottery drawing and check out the Players Club at GALottery.com.
Hi, folks. Matt Hayes here from Hayes of Baldwin. If you're in the market for a new car, truck, or SUV, take a short drive and come see what North Georgia has to offer. We have 8 brands in one location. A great selection of pre-owned and manufacturer-certified pre-owned vehicles. But that's not all. With 2 large service departments to take care of all your automotive needs, from maintenance, repairs, or just tires and checkups. Hayes offers friendly staff and excellent customer service. With over 50 years of a family-owned and operated business in North Georgia, come see what Hayes has to offer you. Hayes of Baldwin, just 3 miles north of Hall County on Highway 365.
Waste Eliminator is a full-service waste management company, providing critical disposal, recycling, and environmental solutions for business and residential clients. From large-scale commercial projects to smaller residential cleanups, Waste Eliminator offers reliable dumpster rental service tailored to your needs. Whether you're tackling a renovation, new construction, or even a simple home cleanout, Waste Eliminator will manage the waste efficiently and sustainably. Visit online at wasteeliminator.com.
Aren't you glad that cooler weather and the fall planting season is here? This is Kelly, and Full Bloom Nursery is stocking up on beautiful mums and fall annuals. Plus, we're fully stocked with 4 acres of perennial shrubs and trees. Since 2003, Full Bloom Nursery has been helping customers all over North Georgia. To get started on your projects, give us a call at 678-616-3035. Visit fullbloomnursery.com for more info, and be sure to like us on Facebook to see what's growing.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a Gainesville man is killed on Wednesday as he was removing a large limb from the top of a tree in Hall County. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Obamacare has now been around for 15 years, and the promise was that it was going to save us dramatically on our healthcare spending and make us healthier. And if you look at 2010, for a family of 4, their premiums were about $13,000. And they had about $3,000 to $4,000 in deductibles. Now you go to 2025, that has jumped to $35,000, about a $5,000 to $6,000 deductible. What's happening now is we have what's called functionally uninsured patients. That means they have insurance, they think that they're okay, then they get sick, they go to the ER, they present their magic insurance card, and they find out they have a $5,000 deductible. So that means they have to pay $5,000 for the first dollar of coverage. Now the ER for sure is going to eat up that $5,000 deductible. What that means is patients now have ongoing medical debt. So has Obamacare saved us money? No, unfortunately not. What it has done is made the system very, very complex. You've had the growth of very small to moderate size insurance companies to huge insurance companies. There's now 7 insurance companies that are in the Fortune 500 right now.
So that is a physician talking about kind of where we are in Obamacare, and the Wall Street not the Wall Street Journal. Well, the Wall Street Journal referred to the Washington Post and talked about where we are on ACA. And just to give you kind of what's happening here, these subsidies were voted in 2021 for everybody because of COVID. So even if you made $600,000 a year, you were getting a subsidy. There is this really bad thing in the ACA, and we should speak to our folks about it, our elected officials. Because they're trying to get people under 30 to sign up, they subsidize with taxes, interest from student loans, and other things, people under 30, so they have really cheap premiums, so they'll get on the system. If you're over 50, though, they can charge you 4 times as much as they charge the people under 30 for the premiums. And I went through this myself because I was self-employed until I got on Medicare. And when I left the federal government or the state government back in 2019, from 2019 until 2024, for 5 years, I had to pay that 4 times as much premiums because I was self-employed. And so I was paying oh my God, anywhere between $1,400 and $1,800 a month. It was a good thing our house was paid off because my health insurance was a mortgage payment. And I didn't get any subsidies because I wasn't gonna apply for them. I'm kind of like my mom that way. I don't need the help, and other people need it more than I do. And so I didn't try doing the ACA because we have that problem at Northeast Georgia Health Systems where they don't take every one of the ACA plans, and the deductibles are so high that you really can't use it. So in my case, I got 2 knees replaced in that period of time. So I probably, it was probably worth it to me, even though I was having to pay a mortgage payment, because it was covered, and the knee surgery was a lot more than what I was paying in premiums, even over the course of the year. Okay. So from my standpoint, it worked out okay. And it is true that people my age cost more. You have more doctor's visits. There's more complications. There's more things you're required to get. There are people under 30 that only go to the doctor maybe once a year, if that. So I get it that we're more expensive at the higher end, the older end, than you are underneath. I got a big reduction, though, when I got on Medicare. It was like getting a raise. And it's interesting, I'm older now and more expensive, but I got a better price, and that's okay. But what happened is they have put these subsidies in. Democrats passed this. Democrats extended it in the last couple of CRs because we couldn't have done it without Democrat votes. And now they want to vote against it and then blame us for it, blame Republicans for it. So I want to just give you a short history lesson that you can take to your Democrat friends, because I had a lunch yesterday at the UGA, and I was sitting across the table from someone who was a CDC employee, and she was talking about the fact that she had to take a day off for this, because she was not on furlough. Her particular program is funded by the State Department. It's considered to be an essential program, so she had not been furloughed. But I was talking to her, and I did my little 2-minute elevator speech. I said, we used to not have government shutdowns at all. Before a bill called Graham-Rudman, the government shut down 40 or 50 times. You can look it up to see how many it was, but it was a large number of times that the government shut down. But the idea was, before Graham-Rudman, was that you would finally get together, so they just funded the government at current levels without passing a CR, until you got it together and people worked together and got it done. Then what happened is Graham-Rudman and Rudman, one was a Democrat, one was a Republican. I've forgotten which one was which. They came up with this thing because they wanted to make people more accountable. And so they wanted to make sure everything was open and above board. They wanted to get it out of the smoke-filled rooms. So that's when you started to have to pass continuing resolutions. And you actually had government shutdowns where you furloughed employees. And the idea was nobody would ever do that, because who wants a bunch of people out of work? So that people would finally come to the table and get together. But what happened was it became a political tool, a political weapon, really. And the first casualty of the government shutdown were Republicans. Republicans had won this huge majority in 1994. Huge. 51 seats or something like that. It was crazy, the number that was there. And we got this huge majority. We held Clinton's feet to the fire. We went into a government shutdown, and the people blamed Republicans for it. And I think at that time the Senate was still controlled by Democrats, but because the House was controlled by Republicans, they blamed Republicans. And every other government shutdown since then has been blamed on Republicans. So I can't blame the Democrats for thinking it was going to work again. But here's the truth, folks. This is not Republican view. This is not Democrat view. There are enough votes, and have been since this first vote, to open the government. In the past, to get through cloture, when they knew they had enough votes to pass it, people who weren't going to vote for the final bill would vote for cloture. So like John Ossoff, for example, he could vote for cloture and then vote against the government funding, and he can go to his donors that he likes to raise money off of, because he's raised $3 million off of this government shutdown, and say, oh, I voted against opening the government, so please give me more money. He could do that. The other 6 senators could do that. They could vote to invoke cloture, which would get it to the final vote without a filibuster. And then they could move on and keep the government open. It would have never shut down. So the unintended consequence of Graham-Rudman is that it has created a situation where a political shutdown, a government shutdown, is a political weapon. And I don't want that to happen. Look, I just got a message in that I am going to be able to get a data center expert on the show on Monday. I'm still waiting to see what time on Monday that person's going to be coming on and who that person is and what their credentials are. So I'm working on that. I want to have this information. George, you know, you really hurt my feelings when you told me I should be ashamed of myself, because what I'm trying to do is get the information. I'm living through this just like you are. This is new to me, just like it is to everybody else. This is a new issue that's come up. So, you know, I hear you, George. I'm sorry you were disappointed in me. But I think that what we have to do is make sure before we just put any information out, that we put the correct information out, even if it takes us a little more time, because we're not going to be done for because of one vote. We'll be back.
Checking in with Haley from Clipper, and I understand, Haley, you folks have really gone to the dogs, and that's a good thing.
It is. You know, we take our fur babies with us when we travel, and they got to have a place to go to the restroom, too. So Barkley Park was formed, and you can find Barkley Park in Clayton, Flowery Branch, and in Rabbittown.
And you know what? That's also influenced the beverage station, right? Bark and Bean Brews.
Oh, yeah. We had to bring the dogs into the coffee world, too.
Check it out, folks. Never fly solo. Take your dog with you and head to Clipper.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
Another boat got blown up.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It is the 10th one in President Trump's crackdown on illegal drug trafficking off the coast of South America, as he also considers going after land targets in foreign countries.
I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country.
U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the military has struck and destroyed yet another vessel transporting narcotics in the Caribbean. The secretary says the vessel was operated by Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang designated as a terrorist organization. A crew of 6 males on board were killed.
That's Fox's Eben Brown. Americans who get Social Security payments will get more next year. The cost of living increase will be 2.8%. That's tied to inflation. And we also got an update on that.
You were paying more for things in September, but the increase in inflation was not as much as expected. The Consumer Price Index rose 0.3% from August to September. That's an improvement from the previous month. For the year ending in September, both the CPI and core CPI, excluding food and energy, increased 3%.
Fox's Ginny Casola, all that driving a stock market rally, lifting the Dow and the NASDAQ to all-time highs. But don't expect another inflation update anytime soon. In a post on X, the Trump administration said there likely will not be a consumer price update next month for the first time in the history of the index because of the government shutdown now in day 24. President Trump is angry at Canada about a TV commercial that upset him so much he posted on Truth Social he's ending all trade negotiations. That ad features President Reagan in a 1987 address warning about tariffs
and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse.
Now, the president calls that fake and egregious. The Reagan Foundation says the Ontario government made the ad, did not ask for permission for the address. Tonight, the president will take off on a trip to Asia that will include a meeting with China's leader about trade. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and within 5 minutes of the Hall County Board of Commissioners meeting starting on Thursday, multiple residents filed out after the Project Turbo data center issue was tabled.
So that we can get a site visit set up. We're trying to find one that is similar size, similar type facilities, similar type with the closed loop cooling system and all.
That was District 3 Commissioner Greg Poole, whose district the proposal is in, on just why he made the motion to table the matter. That meeting will now be on December 11th at Hall County Government Center. And after an alleged improper Planning Commission meeting in September, the Hall County officials have responded and said that one did not violate the Open Meetings Act, but 7 other instances might have. WDUN's Caleb Hutchins explains.
The letter said that through interviews and review of surveillance footage of the Hall County Government Center, officials determined that the meeting in September did not violate the Georgia Open Meetings Act. The letter did acknowledge, however, that county officials have found evidence that as many as 7 other such improper meetings occurred. Planning Commission Chairman Chris Braswell stepped out of the room to recuse himself from a vote on a controversial data center, with a quorum forming after item discussion.
A Gainesville man who is already awaiting trial for child pornography charges has been arrested again for the same crimes. As B.J. Williams with the Sheriff's Office says, 29-year-old Cameron Dakota Dove was arrested at his home in northwestern Hall County on Thursday. His home was searched after investigators received a tip about his online activities from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
While they were at his residence, they were able to seize multiple electronic devices and immediately found 40 different images of children engaged in sexually explicit activity.
Dove is still awaiting trial after a previous investigation between 2022 and 2024 ended with him facing more than 60 child pornography charges. And not one, but 2 separate water main breaks late Thursday keeps the City of Cleveland's Public Works Department busy with repairs and boil water advisories. As the social media page for Cleveland posted the 2 separate boil water issues within a few hours of each other, affecting opposite sides of the downtown business districts. A full list of the streets, businesses, and neighborhoods affected in Cleveland, as well as more news, can be found at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Mostly sunny skies. The highs later today in the low 70s. Will be partly cloudy skies for the evening and overnight hours. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Sugar Hill, 56 degrees, Clayton, 53, and in Gainesville, 55. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Hi, I'm John Shackelford, Executive Director of Eagle Ranch.
For families in the middle of a struggle, knowing what is needed and where to go for help can be hard. To support these families, we created First Step Counseling. This new program allows families looking for help to meet with an Eagle Ranch counselor to share their story and make a plan for healing and renewal before starting therapy. Counselors are standing by and ready to meet with you and your family in person within a few days, so no long wait list. And like all Eagle Ranch services, no one is turned away because of financial constraints. Schedule a call with our First Step team today by going to eagleranch.org.
Hey there, it's Cody Lovin, owner of Crawl Space Medic. Is your crawl space giving you trouble? Maybe it's moisture, structural issues, or even foul odors? Don't worry, my team and I, we've seen it all. At Crawl Space Medic, we specialize in crawl space repairs, encapsulations, and basement waterproofing, ensuring your home's foundation stays solid and protected. We're all about delivering top-notch service you can trust with solutions that last. Give me a call at 706-410-2400 or visit crawlspacemedic.com for a free evaluation.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
The remarkable service of prayer here in the Sistine Chapel as the King, Supreme Governor of the Church of England, walks with Pope Leo XIV through the very chapel where the Pope was elected for this service to mark a union of intent and a togetherness. The King is escorted by the Pope into the Salia Regia, where he will meet other people associated with the reason the Pope has invited the King here, and that is to mark the togetherness of two churches moving forward.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and so before we get to this historic event that happened at the Vatican last week, I want to correct one thing that I said in the last program. In the last segment, Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock did vote to invoke cloture yesterday on the vote that was held about funding federal employees, and they did not, it wasn't enough Democrats that would cross over. I think what their strategy is right now, they're kind of taking turns being the three Democrats. Fetterman is not going to budge, but some Democrats that have voted for cloture before didn't vote this time, but Ossoff and Warnock did. So I don't know exactly what game they're playing, but they have adjourned until 3 o'clock on Monday. So hopefully what's going to happen, and obviously Ossoff and Warnock are expecting that they were going to get some pushback when they came home this weekend. And so on any events, they're going to be able to say, yes, it didn't, we're not voting to open the government, but we did vote for cloture so they could take a vote on it. And so, but that was not to reopen the government, okay? That was to, I think, pay employees. But it's the 13th vote on Monday will be taken. Maybe 13 is a charm, okay? So, this event that happened at the Vatican was historic because a British monarch had not gone to see the Pope or to worship with the Pope. Now, Queen Elizabeth had seen the Pope, but a British monarch had not worshipped with the Pope since the Reformation. Okay, so we're talking 500 years, something like that. And so this is a pretty big thing. And what it got me thinking about was that this king, our country, Canada, many of the countries that came out of the British Empire have freedom of religion, where you can practice your religion, you can be a part of it. What I'm concerned about is that Western countries are very tolerant of other religions, but there is a group that's coming to the West and saying in places like Dearborn, Michigan, Montreal, Canada, Paris, London, that when we get the majority, you will all join our religion. So it's really important, and we need to think about this in the terms of migration and what we expect from immigrants and immigrants with an I and with an E. You know, an immigrant with an I means that's somebody that's coming from another country to our country. An immigrant with an E is if we're going from this country to another country. We need to make sure that we understand what the rules are. When my grandmother immigrated from the United States, or to the United States, she had to answer 10 questions. And I found both of the ship's registries where she came in. And she had to answer if she was an anarchist, how much money she had, if she had a job, all of those kinds of things. And we need to decide what our freedom of religion means. Okay, so our freedom of religion, I believe, means that we have the freedom to express our religion without interference from the government. The government does not have a religion. We do not have a state religion. They do in Canada, they do in the UK, and in other places they have a state religion. But we need to make sure that when we allow people to immigrate to our country, because we do allow people to immigrate to our country, that they understand what our rules are about that too. That it's not for you to come and say, I'm going to convert you to this religion. Okay, it's for you to come and say and be able to practice your religion in a way that you see fit. So I do hope that we will work towards this, because it makes me very nervous when a city in America, Dearborn, Michigan, has got city council members and mayors that are saying, when we get the majority, you will do what we want you to do. And this all came about because they have the call to prayer 5 times a day in Dearborn, Michigan now. And it's very loud. And some of the citizens came along and said, hey, it's so early in the morning, please don't do this. We don't want you to do this. And they said, we don't care. And I'm paraphrasing. And that when we get the majority, you're going to have to do things our way. That's not what we are. We are not a straight democracy. If you're a straight democracy, then majority rules and that's it. If you're a straight democracy. We are not a straight democracy. If we were a straight democracy, there are a lot of rights and privileges that minorities have that they would not have. We are a representative democracy. We are a republic that not only has the rule of the majority, we the people, but also protects individual rights. And that's touchy. We are going to celebrate our 250th anniversary next year. And we are the longest lasting government of our type in the history of the world. And if we're going to continue that way, it has nothing to do with whether Donald Trump is a fascist or not. It has nothing to do whether Bernie Sanders is a communist. It has to do with whether we are going to implement our Constitution, have open and free debates, have freedom of religion, and have the opportunities that our forefathers had, and that we're willing to defend those freedoms when those kinds of things happen. So that is what we are trying to do and what we are looking for in all of those situations. It's so important that we do that. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with you.
North Georgia starts its day on Main Street.
I start my day with you every morning.
It's exactly what we need in the morning.
Hit the ground running with Mornings on Main Street with Bill, Steve, and Logan, and start your day with radio worth listening to on North Georgia's News Talk.
What if I need to go into a nursing home? Will I lose my home? This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and I'm here to give you some good news. The short answer is no. You will not lose your home if you need to transition to a nursing home. But there's steps that you need to take. I've made it my mission in life to help folks in your situation. But you need to make the first call. Visit my website at kevintharp.com and learn how to get help planning for the rest of your life.
Does your office technology slow your team down? Nothing is more frustrating than printers that jam, copiers that won't connect, and service providers that don't follow through. You and your team deserve technology that works. I'm Matt Nick, president of Duplicating Products, and for over 50 years, we've helped North Georgia offices eliminate bottlenecks, reduce downtime, and get reliable support for office technology. Our promise, we do what we say we will do. If you're tired of office equipment headaches, it's time for a change. Visit us today at duplicatingproducts.com.
Fall in and save big at Krause Family Hyundai. This fall, drive a new Hyundai Santa Fe with as low as 0% APR financing, or lease a new Hyundai for as little as $239 a month. And every new Hyundai comes with America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty and Hyundai Assurance. With hundreds of new Hyundais to choose from, you can get it all this fall. Visit KrauseFamilyHyundai.com for full details and see us on Atlanta Highway exit 16 off 985.
Have you ever been at your wit's end over conflict? Hi, this is Whit Martin, pastor of Asbury Chapel. You may have heard it said, misery loves company. But what if we were able to leave misery alone and join company that brings joy and peace? I'm talking about company that is family, the family of God. The Bible says in Matthew 5:9, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." God's children make peace by first introducing others to God, the Father of this joyful family called the church, and then by bringing peace to those around them. Just as God made peace with sinners so that they can know and have salvation, so God's children are about the same business. What a world this can be if we will be about the business of making peace. And that is Wit's End. Asbury Chapel invites you to learn more by joining us for worship at 758 Main Street on Sundays at 10 a.m. Visit asburychapel.net for more.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, multiple residents leave moments after the Project Turbo Data Center is tabled during Thursday's Hall County Commissioners meeting. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN talk and text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Of course, there will be families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously, but it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's a Democratic senator saying we take the suffering of the American family seriously. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you took the suffering of the American family seriously, you would have never voted to close the government. You would have voted to open the government, and then you would have gone to all the meetings that were offered to you to negotiate about things all throughout the year. This petulant behavior by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they are not in the majority anymore. Yes, there is some power that the minority has, and I have said the same things when Republicans have been in power. Okay, so don't say you're just saying this about Democrats. When you're in the minority, until you put up better candidates and win, you have got to negotiate with the majority. You may not have to give them everything they want, but you've got to negotiate. And there are not enough people that run to a microphone that are willing to negotiate in good faith. Now, I want to take another opportunity to correct something I said earlier in the show. It's not that I said two things that were bad. I'm just going to put this out there twice so that make sure everybody hears it. Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock did vote to invoke cloture yesterday. Two of the senators that had been voting to invoke cloture didn't, though, which I think is interesting. It makes me think that they got this little round robin strategy where they'll have 3 or 4 that vote, but not the 7 or 8 that they need. And I got to tell you, if you live in Kentucky, and I've already asked my kids who live in Kentucky to do this, you need to call Rand Paul up and tell him to get his act together and get back on the right side of this issue. I realize that he's a purist on the budget. I realize that he wants to get changes in the budget, and I support his plan of going back to 2019 spending, adjusting it for inflation, and then building a budget from there. I support that 100%. I think it's the most logical thing I have ever heard in my life. Okay? But we have got to make sure that we get this government back open again. And look, I basically am a person that thinks let the government shut down so people can just see how bad things are. But at this point in time, we've got to make sure that the government gets back open. And step 2 is people start acting like grown-ups again and negotiating things. You know, Senator Ossoff likes to tout the fact that he does all of these bipartisan amendments. So he ought to have enough Republican colleagues that he can go to negotiate with on big things too. I just think that none of these guys, I think we need to have fruit basket turnover in the United States Senate. And we need to get people in there that are going to act like grown-ups. Because it used to be the United States Senate was the grown-up room. Now it's just a nursing home with a few young people that are creating problems. And I'm disappointed. I used to think it was the best job in politics, being a United States Senator. Because you could do the real good work of the people because you were only up for election every 6 years. But unfortunately, the Senate has become just as political as the House is. And I am so pleasantly surprised with Mike Johnson. Nobody thought he could do this job. And he is calm, cool, and collected. He never loses his cool. He stays on message. He keeps his caucus together. And you know what, Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, I'm sure in your little moments you would tell the truth on this, even though you don't publicly. Mike Johnson is really easy to work with. He is somebody that if you went to him and negotiated in good faith, you could actually get some things done. And that's what we need to work on. Now, I got a text message in that's saying, sending me the website of the data center opposition and their issues, which I have, and I've been looking at that. Again, I don't trust even these kind of websites because they're only putting information that agrees with their point of view. So what we've got to find and what I'm trying to find is somebody, and I think I have, that's why I didn't use his name in the promo you're going to hear over the weekend because I haven't nailed it down yet. But I think I've found somebody that's going to actually talk about this from all sides. And I do agree with what Ron Hart had to say is that really these negotiations need to be with the power companies to be sure they can provide the power. Because we want to stay ahead of China on this. But we also have to do it in a cleaner way than China will do it. China doesn't care if they have 100 million people without power for a week. They're going to do what they're going to do. We do care. And the thing you have to understand about China, because the president is going to be meeting with them, two things. We should not be allowing them to buy any kind of land or buildings in the United States. Not at all, period. But the other thing we need to understand is there are only about 350 million Chinese that are benefiting from the good economy that China has built over the last 50 years. The other 700 or 800 million people are living like they did 500 years ago. So the Chinese government really doesn't care if they don't have water, if they don't have power, if they don't have any of that stuff. All they care about is if their economic engine and their cities have the things they need. They don't care about the rest of the people, and they clearly don't care about the people that they have in concentration camps. And the reason why we need to uncouple to some degree from China is that we have too many important things that are being made there. It's getting better. But also a lot of what they're doing is slave labor. It's concentration camp labor, which is like the next level to slavery. And we got to stand up more for our own values. Now, granted, if you spend too much time on social media, you don't really know what our values are right now. But I would encourage you to get out in your local community. I would encourage you to talk to people that you meet in the coffee shop. I would encourage you to understand that what you see on social media is not real, okay? And I think that that's one of the things that we need to be really aware of when we look at this. And I have really limited my social media exposure over the last few weeks, and I am feeling so much better. I'm feeling so much better. Also, my good friend Gene Cobb gave me a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, so I'm getting that now without having to pay for it. And I really appreciate that, Gene. It's been wonderful. And I love reading the Wall Street Journal, and I really get most of my news from reading. I do watch news. I have a couple of favorite shows. I love watching Gutfeld. I love watching Special Report. I like News Nation. And I try to get different viewpoints. I also watch something called GB News so that I can see how Europe is covering American stories, because that's always very insightful. But I have cut my watching of news down from several hours a day down to about an hour a day that I spend watching news. The rest of the time I'm reading. And so that does slow me down a little bit, but you don't get that sort of insightful, and I mean insightful like Inside a Riot kind of thing where everything is like the end of the world, and if you don't believe this way, we are done for. I believe in the resilience of the American people. I believe in the resilience of the human nature, and I think that God knows what he's doing, and I believe in my faith. And so I'm not worried about the future because I think ultimately people will do the right thing, even though they take a circuitous path to get there sometimes. I know that's extremely frustrating. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. You can also text us at that number. We're having a really great time talking about the issues of the day. We heard from some folks that have said that they are looking for sources for me for the data centers, and I really do appreciate it. So there are lots of things that people are talking about. I also want to just in this final couple of minutes that we got, I want to share a couple of stories about Danny Dunnigan and lift up my friend Claire Bartlett. Danny was just a great and happy guy. He is going to be so missed because he was a happy warrior in this community. And he would always check me, meaning that I would get little text messages from him. He never called in, but he would correct me on things or he would give me more information, and I loved that. But very recently, when he was in the hospital a few months ago, I was having a problem getting something washed for my father-in-law. And I knew that he had sold 3D cleaners, but I had hoped that he could give me the name of someone there that could help me. And I didn't know he was in the hospital when he took this call. And he took the call, he took care of my situation, and I was able to get what I needed done for my father-in-law. And I didn't find out until afterwards that he had done all this from his hospital bed. So I felt humbled by that, and I lift him up in his new life in eternity. And also, I would like you all to pray. I'm asking for you all to pray for my friend, Claire Bartlett, who's been diagnosed with glioblastoma cancer and is not doing well. And she has just been such a good friend to me throughout the years. She is a happy warrior also. And she had had some symptoms for a period of time and kind of ignored them because she thought they were stress. And her husband noticed that she wasn't walking straight. She had she was dragging her foot and took her right to the emergency room. But these symptoms had been going on for about 6 months. And I don't know if she'd gone 6 months earlier, she'd have a different situation today. But don't assume everything is stress, and have a regular primary care physician, no matter what it costs. We'll be back.
Some car dealers want to sell you a car. At Hardy Chevrolet, we'd rather help you find the vehicle that's right for you. This is Mike Cormier. We call it the Hardy Chevrolet difference. Since you're the one who will be in the driver's seat of that new Chevy, we think you should be in the driver's seat when it comes to making the selection. It's like Charles Hardy always said.
We love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Browns Bridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next.
And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This week on Friday Game Night, on AM 550, Cherokee Bluff hosts Jefferson. On FM 102.9, Chestatee hosts White County. And on 94.5 FM, Gainesville hosts Roswell. Week 11 coverage begins at 6 with the Prep Tailgate Show, presented by Conditioned Air Systems. On your home of Friday Game Night, WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. More narco-terrorists eliminated.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the military has struck and destroyed yet another vessel transporting narcotics in the Caribbean. The secretary says the vessel was operated by Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang designated as a terrorist organization.
Fox's Edmund Brown, Secretary Hegseth says 6 people were killed. At least 46 alleged drug cartel members have now been killed in military strikes. Inflation inching up.
The Consumer Price Index rose 0.3% from August to September. That's an improvement from the previous month. For the year ending in September, both the CPI and core CPI, excluding food and energy, increased 3%, which is weaker than anticipated.
Fox's Jenny Casaldo. The White House says the shutdown will likely prevent the release of inflation data next month. First time that's ever happened. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
WDUN. From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and a controversial data center for Hall County has been tabled by commissioners. Over 100 residents showed up to speak against the proposed 900,000 square foot facility, although some began to leave after it was tabled within minutes of Thursday's meeting.
Since we're adjourned and we didn't get to speak, how many people here are opposed to the Project Turtle? Say aye! Aye! Hope you heard that.
That was a resident expressing his frustration after the meeting. The issue has been tabled until December 11th. Commerce Police Department posting a be on the lookout for 68-year-old Vance Mark Acker, who was last seen Thursday morning. He was seen leaving Nolana Drive near Mount Olive Road, according to officials in Commerce, wearing a camo hat, brown overcoat, black shirt, and blue jeans and Crocs slides. Anyone with leads to his whereabouts should contact Jackson County Dispatch or the Commerce Police Department. That contact information at Access WDUN. And not one, but 2 separate water main breaks have several businesses and residents in Cleveland dealing with boil water issues, as WDUN's Hamilton Keener explains.
Within hours of each other on Thursday evening, water main breaks forced Cleveland officials to advise many businesses and some residents of a boil water advisory. The first was by 116 North Helen Highway near Old Nakuchi Road, and the second was along Route 129 southbound.
You'll find more details, including an affected location, by going to Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Great Friday morning, North Georgia. Mostly sunny skies and highs later today in the low 70s. Will be partly cloudy skies for the evening and overnight hours. Lows dropping back into the mid-40s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Brazelton, 58 degrees, and in Gainesville, 56. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
There's nothing quite like a local neighbor. That's why AARP is local, right here in Midtown Atlanta, to offer you free events and enriching experiences that help you with finances, family, and fun. We are in the community, connecting you to what matters most right when you need it. Visit our website at aarp.org/GA or visit us on social media at AARP Georgia to find out more information on how we're helping your money, health, and happiness live as long as you do.
Fall is planting time in North Georgia. This is Julie from Full Bloom Nursery, and now is the perfect time to plant pansies, perennials, shrubs, and trees. Planting in the fall gives your new plants time to become established without the stress of heat and dry weather. We've got over 4 acres of plants for you to choose from, so come see us for all your fall projects. Our knowledgeable staff will help you pick out the right plant for the right spot. Be sure to like us on Facebook and visit us on the web at fullbloomnursery.com.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is true that Mamdani was taking a picture with an unindicted co-conspirator from the World Trade Center bombing the other day and called him a pillar of the community. Cuomo didn't make him take that picture. Mamdani took that picture and seems to be pretty proud of it. That's a legitimate thing to debate. But I think in this case of the radio show, the core issue was Mamdani literally has no experience. And if you had a 9/11 scale event, would you want somebody who can't prove that they can do anything in the chair? Legit.
Is it fair to say that he would cheer on 9/11?
He's taking pictures with unindicted co-conspirators from the World Trade Center bombing.
Are you willing to say that? You really think that he would cheer on 9/11?
He's taking pictures with unindicted co-conspirators from the World Trade Center bombing.
I'm just saying. Hey, look,
I'm just saying. It wasn't Cuomo. It was the radio.
But I'm asking Scott, because Scott seems to think that's like a totally above board line of attack. Do you think that that's true?
I can only tell you what I see on my phone. I see a picture of Mamdani with a guy who was an unindicted co-conspirator from a terrorist attack in New York City.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think that was a good picture?
It is the Martha Zoller Show. And look, I'm praying for a few things. I always pray for my family. I pray that my friends and family come closer to God, because that's the only way we're going to solve all this kind of stuff. Okay? I thank the Lord for another day, since my husband's a 10-year cancer survivor. Okay, but I also, pray for people to have some discernment about things, and that Mamdani does not win in November. That people come to their senses and they do not elect this guy, because he would. Can you imagine if there was a 9/11 style terrorist attack and this guy was the mayor of New York? Can you imagine? I mean, it would be terrible. So I'm hoping for that. I shouldn't say I pray for it. That sounds a little sacrilegious, but I am hoping for it. Now, I have another little piece of audio that is, Bernie Sanders has been making the rounds. He's got this new book out called The Oligarchy, however he says that. And he actually got put in a place where he had to say something nice about Donald Trump. Here he is.
If you don't have any borders, then you don't have a nation, right? In a sense. So has historically the United States done well under Democrats and Republicans in protecting the border? The answer is no. Trump did a better job. I don't like Trump, but we should have a secure border. And it ain't that hard to do. Biden didn't do it. Those before him did not do it. We should have a secure border, period.
So what's interesting about that, I don't like Trump. That's a personal statement. Okay, that's him saying he doesn't like him as a person. And, I guess it's just there's very few people that I've ever met in the world that I could say, I don't like you. That's a very definitive statement. I may be done with you. I may be frustrated with you, but I either don't know you well enough to like you or not. Although I had an old friend of mine that said one time that you need to appreciate the people you hate, or keep the people you hate close so that you can protect the people you love. Now, I don't buy that either, because hate is a very final word, okay? I don't think I have ever said that about anybody that I know. I have said I hated Osama bin Laden. I've said that. I have said I hated the hijackers on 9/11. But I think there's some interesting things about that, about what he said about, I don't like Trump. Maybe he doesn't like his policies. Does he not like Trump? They're really a lot alike. Bernie Sanders, I tell you, 2016, a matchup between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump would have been really, really interesting, because they're both populists. They're both kind of common sense guys, even though they come from different perspectives. Bernie Sanders from this kind of communist perspective, and Donald Trump from this business perspective. But they are kind of two sides of the same coin, a kind of populist movement, and they're trying to reshape their party. Difference is Republicans have allowed Trump for good or for evil, to reshape the party. And I think it is now the party of common sense, which I think is good. And I love the fact that regular folks in droves are coming back to the Republican Party, because we always were a people's party. Okay? We were the people that freed slaves. We were the people that put affirmative action in. We were the people that passed the Martin Luther King Day. We were the people that tried to do the right thing, and we were the people that negotiated with Democrats to get the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. So I'm proud of that history. Democrats are the people that stand in the way. They were the party of slavery. They were the party of the KKK. They were the party of they think they were the party of civil rights, and that was a combination. In fact, Lyndon Johnson thanked Republicans because he couldn't have gotten it passed with just Democrats. And I'm not saying Democrats are all bad. There's a lot of great Democrats, but there seems to be a problem over time in the history of Democrats with their leadership. FDR was a pragmatic leader. Yes, he was a Democrat, and he was not a communist. He just hired a lot of communists. I mean, it is true what Joe McCarthy said, is there were a lot of communists in the government. Here's what happened with that. I know you hate my history lessons, but I have to give them sometimes because we need more than a 5-year perspective to understand these things. So right after the Bolshevik Revolution, there was a big movement for all free countries to fall. Like there was this workers' movement that happened. And you go back and look at some of the newsreels. You go look in some of the newsreels and you will see that there were marches all over this country for the Workers' Party, which was just communists, okay? So we have this whole thing where communists are trying to infiltrate America. Well, Americans are raised in a very different way than Russians were, and Russians were under a monarchy, really, and so it's a different kind of situation. So they created something called the American Communist Party. And the American Communist Party were communists, but they really were kind of far-left Democrats as opposed to real communists. Real communists. So the thing that we're looking at is that there were a lot of folks from that era that ended up working for the government in the bureaucracy because they love bureaucracies. That kind of far-left Democrat loves bureaucracies. So Senator McCarthy, while he got blamed for all of the witch hunts that happened in the 50s, he actually died young at 48 years old of cirrhosis of the liver. He was a very, very heavy drinker. And the real committee that did the damage, and I say damage, was the House committee. McCarthy was a senator. He was not a member of the House. And the House committee was called HUAC. So, you got to know your history. You got to know more than just 5 years of your history. Let's go to the phones now and talk to Jim in Commerce. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's great to be alive in Jackson County in the great state of Georgia. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's a beautiful day.
It sure is. With all the rancor going on now, and looking back on comments I heard about the Roman Empire, and I decided to go on Google and type in the fall of the Roman Empire, and I compared about half of the downside events that happened in the Roman Empire a couple of years after the crucifixion of Christ. It's a similarity to things going on now. And also, I remember when I was stationed in Germany and Ramstein Air Force Base, and went to the PX there and shopping one day with a buddy of mine. We came out and there was a German civilian sitting on a bench. His name was Hans. He was always there all the time, and everybody knew him. And so we decided to sit down on the bench with Hans. And we had an observation. I guess it was either me or my sidekick, and we said, we have been around a lot of cities in Germany, Munich, Kaiserslautern, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we have seen such great people here in Germany. If you would compare these folks in the present day with the 40s, the 30s, and the 40s, so you wouldn't believe it. And Hans sat there, and he looked at me, and he looked at the other guy, and it's like I said, I've seen opposition, I've seen ups and downs in America, but I said the time I've been here, we both of us, and the other guy was a white guy, and I was a black guy. It doesn't make any difference what color, but incidentally, and so we sat there, and Hans dropped his head, and I guess he's in his 40s, maybe about 45, almost in his 50s, I remember. And in one comment that Hans made, he said, "You wonder how it happened." He said, we lost focus. We lost focus. And if we define focus, and the way I define it, and maybe some people do it, some of them don't, but the Bible always speaks about in the book of Isaiah, though your sins be as scarlet, come, let's reason together. And that's a part of focus. And we all should seek and pray for divine intervention. Whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, you might be a Muslim, whatever. But we need to get back on track. It doesn't mean that we all have the same opinions, because I respect all opinions. Some opinions I don't like. You and I have different opinions on many things, but we have the same opinions and the same direction on a lot of things. I'll admit that. But the problem in our great nation, if you can imagine, anybody out there can imagine this world that we live in with the nation of the United States of America absent. Oh, we're just let's take America off the map.
Oh, it'd be a very dark place. It'd be a very dark place.
Lord have mercy. Right. You're right. That's my point. And Hans keeps every time I see a lot of disenchantment with our country. We've come a long way since 1776. The Roman Empire lost focus. They lost focus. 2,000 years.
No, I mean, Jim, you're absolutely right. And we're up against a break, so I've got to go. But thank you so much. You're right. We've got to stay focused, and we got to get back to the negotiating table, whether it is you and I across a dinner table, whether it is people at the county commission meeting last night, whether it's people in Washington, D.C. We all need to come and reason together. We'll be back.
It's the last battle before the championship. It's Xfinity Racing at Martinsville. Hear the IAA and Ritchie Brothers 250 Saturday at 7 on North Georgia's home of NASCAR. AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Whether it's a slip that ends in a slip disc, a trick knee that's holding you back, or shoulder pain hurting your game, you can count on Northside Hospital Orthopedics. With leading care in Georgia at convenient locations all across the state, we're here to get you back on your feet, no matter what comes your way. Because Georgia moves us, and we keep Georgia moving. Find a provider near you at northside.com/ortho. That's northside.com/ORTHO.
Have you ever been at your wit's end over your community? Hi, this is Whit Martin, pastor of Asbury Chapel. There are plenty of ups and downs in a community. But as God's people, we have a command in Jeremiah 29:7 that tells us to seek the peace and prosperity of the city, to pray to God for it, because if the city prospers, then the people will prosper. I want to encourage us today to truly look for ways to be a blessing to the community. The best way is to offer the truth of Jesus Christ to any and all, so that the change He brings can transform the place we live into a place that reflects the kingdom of God. Many of us know the Lord's Prayer, praying, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." If our prayers and our efforts are aimed at God's kingdom making a difference here, what goodness and grace there can be for us all. And that is Wits End. Asbury Chapel invites you to learn more by joining us for worship on Sundays at 10 a.m. Visit asburychapel.net for more information.
Cold weather will be here before you know it. At the same time, power outages are on the rise. So here's an important question. If the power goes out when it's really cold, do you have a way to stay warm? If not, you've got to check out the Vesta off-grid space heater from My Patriot Supply. It's a compact, portable space heater that doesn't use electricity. It runs on something called canned heat, which is an indoor safe fuel. It's completely off-grid, and it can heat up a 200 square foot room in a matter of minutes. With a Vesta stashed in your closet, you can rest easy, knowing you and your family will stay warm, even if the power goes out. Plus, it doubles as a stove to boil water or cook food without electricity or propane. The best part is, you can get a Vesta and a bunch of other free gifts when you order the Winter Prep Special from My Patriot Supply. Just go to mypatriotsupply.com to see everything included. This offer won't last long, and neither will this nice fall weather, so go to mypatriotsupply.com today. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, City of Cleveland's public works crews are combating not one but two water main breaks from Thursday night. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
See them and get your thoughts on the game.
I hate this team. I was born into this, and I'm not gonna ever. I'm always a Jets fan, but like, I hate this team.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show. I wish I could show the video when I'm doing these clips too. Maybe we'll get to that point at some point in time. But Logan, that poor kid, I was born into this team, but I hate this team.
No.
I'll always be there. But the Jets are doing terrible this year, and I mean, look, I've been a beleaguered Falcons fan since they came here in 1965. My dad had season tickets from 65 to 85, and for a lot of times in the beginning of that, he couldn't get anybody to go with him because they were so bad.
Right, you couldn't pay someone to go watch the team.
So I always went it was great. I went with my dad every week to the football games, and it was fantastic. So that's how I learned to love football, was because of that. But it's beleaguered, and NFL sports is painful and jubilant, just depending on the year.
That's the thing. It all depends on the year, and especially with football, whether it's college or the pros. You get once a week, right? That's typically it. You get once a week. It's not like it's baseball where you play every day, every other day. You have to be ready that week, and unfortunately, like the video we played coming in here, that was a kid who's probably about 14, 15, if I had to guess, early high school, and just no emotion in his face at all. Just, I hate this team so much. Just, why do I have to put myself through this?
Now, your dad was a Raiders fan.
He was, and he still is. He grew up in the 70s and late 60s, 70s when they were good, actually.
The Oakland Raiders,
back when they were Oakland,
in the day,
and they were a little rough. That's for sure, a little rough around the edges, but. He passed that down to me. I don't know if it was a blessing or a curse at this point with how rough they've been over pretty much my whole childhood and whole life.
I mean, you got Brock Bowers, though.
Thank God we have Brock Bowers.
But he's been hurt.
He has been, but he's supposed to be back this week, hopefully, and that'll maybe right the ship. But it's been, I will say this, Martha, it's been painful just with how good Kansas City's been the last 5-10 years.
I don't want to say this out loud because it might jinx him. Not that I'm worried about jinxing Brock Bowers, but he's a little injury prone. And I don't know if it's because he's so athletic in what he does that you're just going to get hurt when you get, because he's a big guy.
Right.
And he can fly through the air. I mean, he's so beautiful when he's just running and then flying through the air, trying to get in for that touchdown. But it should be interesting.
No, it should be. And the thing with a lot of athletes, especially, talking about Brock and kind of the more modern day player, they have, 0% body fat, all muscle and everything like that. So that's, you see a lot of guys get strains and stuff like that just because you don't have any of that extra, cushion if you have a little bit of body fat on you. And Brock is a tremendous player when he's on the field, and hopefully he can continue to do great things like he's done since he got drafted.
So let's bring it back down kind of to a little bit college football, and obviously remember that the Hall of Fame, the Georgia High School Hall of Fame, is meeting this weekend, and Cam Newton, Kirby Smart, the big one's Kirby Smart. I suspect he'll be the big one of that class.
Right.
Because he's the most famous. Even though Cam Newton had a good career, Kirby's been a little more predictable.
Right.
And so I think that he'll be kind of the star of that particular dinner. There is no Georgia football this weekend, but Georgia Tech's playing, and they're undefeated. Joe McCutcheon, remember at the beginning of the season what he said?
He said that they're going to meet in the for the national title.
That's so
and
crazy.
So far, Joe, your prediction, you've nailed it, man. Georgia's number 5, and Tech, I believe, is number 7. So, I mean, they're neck and neck with each other. And, of course, Martha, it's all going to come to a head end of the season when they face each other once again. And if it's anything like last year's game, it's going to be some fireworks.
So last year I took my grandson to the game.
What a game to go to.
At Sanford Stadium, and I pulled all my connections to get good parking. The seats were pretty good, too, but they were a little bit low down. But it was okay. We stood the whole game. But we got parking in Tate, so we got to walk out kind of through that entry that's right there where the hedges open up, and it's just beautiful. I mean, for a first Georgia football game, it was a pretty awesome walk-in.
Right.
Okay, so I was a really good grandma in that situation.
You got some brownie points that day.
Yeah, I got some brownie points that day, and this year it's going to be at Mercedes-Benz, and it looks like they've made that permanent change to the Friday night game or the Friday game after Thanksgiving instead of Saturday. Evidently, I did some research in this because I was so thrown for a loop last year because I kept thinking all year it was on Saturday and then it was on Friday. And then I found out that because of the TV contract, it had been moved early in the season. So back 20 or 30 years ago, it was on Friday. Then for the last 20 or 30 years, it's been on Saturday. And the last 2 or 3 years, it's been on Friday. And you notice with college football, they are spreading those games out more, I've noticed, because sometimes you got a Thursday night game, sometimes you got this and that. So I guess it's so popular that they want to have it on as many nights as they can.
It's pretty much all weekend now. They don't play Sunday, but they play Thursday through Saturday from, 6 p.m. till some games, on the West Coast start at 10:30 is when they kick off, like teams like Hawaii or whatnot. So, they've really expanded their reach to just multiple days now, and, we'll see what happens with that game later on this season.
And I love the NFL with them playing these games in Europe, and those start at 9:30 in the morning, so we're just getting back from church, and then we get to watch a little football. I'm not as big a pro football fan as I am a college football fan, but I do like seeing how these European